Awesome. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to Asia School of Business. My name is Krutika, and I head up corporate engagement and partnerships at Asia School of Business. Just in case this is your very first time coming in here, this is how we look like. Hang on. This is a drone shot of ASB, and I don't know how many of you have already visited us. But it's a huge campus with residential facilities, and it's a beautiful place. Even if you have nothing to do with us, you can come here for lunch or something at Ben's restaurant. So what is ASB? We are actually set up by the Central Bank of Malaysia in collaboration with MIT Sloan School of Management. With this coveted position, obviously it makes us centripetal force where there's a lot of different types of discussions that happens here. Name it, talent, faculty of exceptional caliber. Everyone gathers here, which is what makes us special. Let me move here a bit. So, just wanted to show something central to this discussion. It's interesting that we've all come here together today, with some kind of urgency, right? Like, as soon as you saw the title AI, it immediately prompts everyone to subscribe. And there's like so many different types of AI events happening here. Yet, we have FOMO if we don't attend one, right? And it's true for myself as well. And I just wanted to show this by sharing, what has happened in the world of AI. Not that anyone is, new to this. I'm sure you have watched videos and you have access to ChatGPT by now. But this gives you a good example. So this was just to give you a flavor of like, how AI has advanced in just 2 years. I mean, imagine, especially now that everything is accelerated, you can actually really be surprised. By end of this year, you may have bots. Actually, it's already happening. Bots are on sale. You can buy one and take it home. And there's one more video just to show you this. So that's one AI that has obviously replaced somebody's job for good. A cameraman's job is goner, right? And so the point that I wanted to make was that you have got AI, which is the software technology, the brilliance and the intelligence. And then you have the robotics, which is also coming up. Both merged together, it can do a lot of wonders, and it can also do a lot of disaster. So expect the unexpected. So that's what we are here today to talk about, and we have had the greatest pleasure of having wonderful co-organizers. We've had 16 European business chambers actually come here together with their members, member companies, and agencies, trade councils, name it. Everyone has come together, bringing in their own communities. From our side, we've got students, we've got faculty, we have alumni who will be probably joining us in a while. All thanks to actually somebody who mooted this idea in the first place, which is Javier, and he brought along a friend, Abdu, who's somewhere here. Oh, there he is, and Javier, say hi. So before I start and kickstart the panel, I would really like to welcome Abdu to say a few words and share his thoughts about this event and working with ASB. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Kru. Good evening, everyone. First of all, we're going to ask you to give another round of applause and thank you to our host tonight, Asia School of Business. Without them, the event would not be what it is today. And turning to you, without you braving the traffic tonight, the weather, this event would not have had that blast to start. And bear with us, there's still many still stuck in the traffic, but this is Kuala Lumpur, I guess. Everyone got used to it, right? I'm speaking on behalf of La French Tech Malaysia and many European chambers of commerce and business councils who joined us in co-organizing this event. Indeed, AI, so it's a buzzword. Without delving into too much history, artificial intelligence as a concept was coined back in 1956, so last century. Fast forward 2022, ChatGPT, right? Some of us here are building AI as a product, as a service. But I'm pretty sure, and please correct me if I'm wrong or like contradict, all of us are using AI, whether we are aware of it or not, on an everyday basis. Now, I will ask you to look around you. We have a mix of people here. We have investors, we have business leaders, entrepreneurs, representatives of the public and the private sector, students, alumni. All of you were brought here about one specific aspect of that topic. Because just like what Crew was saying, there are so many events. I mean, we're all sick of those events who say, I'm going to talk about AI. We are privileged to have experts today to be speaking about it. I'm looking at Professor Sanjay, at Vittorio. But the offering has been overwhelming. And we seek something that would bring value to the discussion and bring interest for us as individuals or organizations. So how will AI shape the future? Will it shape the future through leadership? Will it shape it through talent? A mix of all of that. Technology, let's leave it aside for this evening. So we're going to be talking about how we can address it, how we can focus on using it as an enabler to bring growth, development, but also consistency in what we do, the values we drive, sustainability, and of course, yes, economical and technological development. Without further ado, please join me to give a big round of applause to Yuki, my dear friend, who's going to be the moderator of the evening, Vittorio, and Dr. Sanjay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Abdu. Abdu is actually Abdu Sairi, board member, La French Tech, and he's also the part of the event organizing committee. Thank you. We'll have all three of you up here. So, yes, please come. So, why are we actually, here at this panel? Please, free seating. Yeah. Okay, we'll have the panel organize themselves. But just before they get started, I wanted to say that, every company that we have met in the recent past, especially like ASB, gets approached a lot for different types of programs or advisory and whatnot. Every company that we have approached, most of the board members, especially at leadership level, these are the questions they've been asking, like how should we be thinking about AI? What do I do with it? I mean, do I even need to pay attention? There's so much mystery surrounding AI for many at leadership level, which is what gets worrying, because even if you as department heads or business unit owners are already like few steps ahead, it doesn't quite make it until and unless you have your board members and leadership's buy-in. So these are some questions just to get started, like how should we be thinking about AI? How should we reimagine our organization design? What types of jobs should we hire for? What type of people? What kind of skill set does it take? And how should we educate all of us? So for this, we thought that, invite an esteemed panel on accelerating talent and empowering business for the AI era. So for this, we have Sanjay. He's our dear boss, President, CEO, and Dean of Asia School of Business. He's a distinguished academic innovator and entrepreneur. He's a renowned MIT professor. If you do not already know, he's also the man behind RFID technology, now being utilized all over the world. He's MIT's first VP for open learning, so he also spearheaded initiatives like MIT OpenCourseware, MIT X, MicroMasters, and so on. In fact, at ASB, he's created a phenomenal movement, if I may. It's not even a program, it's an amazing way of learning what you need to learn through something called ASV's Agile Continuous Education. We'll speak about it a little later. Vittorio, on the other hand, he's an INED in a listed company. He brings deep experience in digital transformation, data analytics, AI, across sectors including banking, insurance, e-commerce, and public sector in Southeast Asia and globally. He has held various roles at EY, Accenture, Axiata, and so on, and currently he runs his own consulting firm providing strategic AI and digital advisory services. Yuki, my dear friend, she's actually the regional director for APAC for Women in Tech Global. She's a prominent figure in tech industry, particularly known for her leadership in blockchain technology and her advocacy for gender equality in technology. As the co-founder and co-CEO of RIN, she spearheads initiatives that leverages blockchain solution to address environmental and social challenges aligning with ESG and SDG. That's quite unique. So before we begin the panel, I have a small note. We have a Slido, just a minute. So we need everyone in this room to scan, including the panelists and the moderator. Reason is because we don't have mics in this room, unlike our classrooms. So if you are, if you want to really ask questions, you can put up your hand. We can use mic runners, but otherwise you can feed in your questions here. Do it interactively as the panelists are speaking, because they can pick up and answer on the go. But if your question doesn't get answered, don't feel left out. You can always catch them outside during networking. All right. With that, no further ado, over to you, Yuki. Thank you.
Okay. Very good evening. It's raining now, and I know that there have been quite a number of events today, and crew was, quite honestly, in the very beginning, you were a little bit worried whether we will get enough participants, but this is great. Today, myself, as Women in Tech as well, we had 4 events, and 2 which we had to turn down. And our ethos, classroom to boardroom, is really speaking of what we are doing. We came from school. Today we had 13 and 14 years old STEM girls education. So we talked about at that level about how we can include girls and into this space, this overwhelming technological innovation, AI that's coming every single day to our face. And now I'm here all the way across the board, the leadership. And who else besides the 2 panel stellar speakers that I have who can talk about education, who can talk about industry, who can talk about businesses and leaders across this entire ecosystem. And so without further ado, I do not have to repeat and introduce, but please do elaborate in your more introduction, because I don't think your entire experiences can fit in this 1 hour. So I'll leave that to you. But also to start off with the first segment, which I have prepared as to ask the very first question, is the executive education and the career impact. I think all of us are here to how do we filter between the 2. So let me start with you, Sanjay.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry. I am addicted to learning. This morning, today I've probably spent 90 minutes figuring stuff out. And the reason is so much has changed in the last week, literally, right? For example, if you haven't researched the bond market, you don't understand what's going on in America right now. But executive education, to me, is the lifeblood of surviving in the 21st century today. Because to execute means to be informed. It's like driving blind if one is not figuring out what's happening around us. And I personally seek it out. Now, executive education comes in different forms. Some of it could be self, some of it you seek out. My time is a little limited, but my best friend today is my AirPods. And with my AirPods, my phone, I make sure that every elevator ride, every plane ride, every minute wasted in a queue in an airport is somehow preparing me to drive and navigate through an extremely foggy reality. So that's my view on executive education.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that. And over to you, Vittorio, but also both of you have been an engineer, if I may, right? So maybe from your executive education, MBA's role and strategic decision making, a little bit of that, perhaps?
I have to confess that I'm not an engineer. I'm not sure how this one came about, but I will take it as a compliment. Because I really think that the engineering skills are quite strong and valuable. And what is valuable about that? It's valuable that it gives you the structure, it gives you the ability to process complex information. So when I saw in the bio that they called me engineer, I said, oh, maybe I'm gonna keep it for a second, and then I'm just gonna clarify on that. I still think, adding to Sanjay's point, that yes, we are going through a period of change, a period in which we need to have ways that are different from the traditional ways to learn, be it learning about the hard subjects, whether it's experience. I still think that there is an important space for traditional education. And we are here at the Asia School of Business, which in my view is one of the best institutions in Malaysia and probably in Asia, I would say. I've been working with them quite a lot in a variety of capacities. I've been sitting often on the other side of the stage, looking at the students that I've mentored, I've hired, have supported in their journey. And I really think that injecting some degree of formal education is still important. So it gives you the structure to be able to then learn. It's not just what you are being given in the education, but it's the tools that allow you then, as Sanjay says, to put your AirPods on when you are at the airport or in a queue, and then keep learning with that.
Thank you. And if I may, just to keep the conversation going, and first of all, I should also acknowledge that Vittorio is a great asset to ASB. He's a coach. He's also, by the way, a member of the board of Maybank, although that's independent of this. But today I was sitting in Ben's, which is our cafe downstairs, and I was watching those robots deliver food. And I thought to myself, and I've said this many times, but today I had a few minutes because of a cancelled Raya event. How many workers' jobs is it taking? So I went back and I used ChatGPT and Perplexity to figure out the mathematics of restaurant work. And this turns out to be a lot of mathematics about queuing theory. I learned queuing theory in traditional engineering education. I had to summon it, bring it from the recesses of my memory, apply it, and I realized, I learned that a mixed-use restaurant where you have regular waiters and robots, you can get up to a 50% increase in productivity, tables served per robot. We have to start thinking like this, in my view, on a daily basis with everything we look at with automation. Because if you're not one of the people trying to figure out how it's going to affect us, you will be one of the people who will be affected. And that is the reality we live in. So just want to add that and say thank you to you, Vittorio.
My pleasure.
Yes, it's in fact, every day we're overwhelmed with information, but at the same time, a lot of things are scaring us. And for me, as part of the Women in Tech Association, is also to make sure that we include girls and women. We have rural and urban challenges as well, the digital divide and all of that. It's most of the time, if you ask emotionally, are you happy about this digital transformation, AI coming at you, or are you scared of what's happening? And most of the time, I get that negativity. Most of the time, will I be replaced? Will I be obsolete? And so here is today, we thank, of course, ASB, Javier, 16 business councils, chambers for doing this, because we want to hear from you. What can we really do? With that, now I'm also going to the second part. Sanjay, if I may, your book, Grasp, you explore the science of learning, exactly where we are going at AI and education. I'm really curious, the audience, and of course the millions of people as per the work, and with the Women in Tech, as I was saying, this inclusivity could be part of this AI and education. What's your take on that?
So first of all, unfortunately, AI is going to impact women more than men, strangely enough. The reason is men do more physical work, and more of the intellectual work, especially computers, data, etc. Women are more impacted there, and that's the first area that AI will encroach on. This is an ILO report as well. So I think it's very urgent that we take on women in tech, and I'm really glad that you're doing it, and we should all do it as a father of a 23-year-old who's studying AI, actually. Now, the thing about education is that it's a strange thing. In my book, I talk about it. If you want to learn something, it has to be effortful, mentally effortful. So it turns out that learning science tells us there are two types of difficulties in learning. One is undesirable difficulties. Undesirable difficulties if the font is smaller, you don't have glasses, that's undesirable difficulties. Desirable difficulties is when you learn something and you don't get it, you put pen to paper, let's say it's an equation, I'm an engineer, right? You write it and you get that aha moment, that's when you really learn. It's called desirable difficulties. If we incorporate AI in learning, if we reduce the desirable difficulties, we will actually diminish learning. If you increase the desirable difficulties, you improve learning. What does that mean? That means that if you learn something, for example, the economy of Malaysia, and if the student engages AI in a conversation where they're asking them about the impact of the petrochemical industry, the impact of the palm oil industry. When did the palm oil industry start? When that happens, and the student's mental cycles are more engaged, that's accretive. If the student is using the AI to solve an assignment, that is net deficit, negative. So the real challenge is going to be, how do we deploy AI in learning in a way that the student is exercising more, literally physically exercising, in the desirable difficulties? Right? So that's the challenge. And this is very difficult pedagogically to figure out how to do. I'll give you an example which is unrelated to AI. So I've lived in Kuala Lumpur now for 2 years, and I've been using Google Maps, Waze or Grab, right? And you can set up Google Maps in two modes. One is where the map rotates around you. That is called egocentric. The other is where the map always points north and the arrow rotates. The first one makes it effortless, but you don't get a sense of direction. Take my word for it. The second one, you will make mistakes, but it's a desirable difficulty, you will learn better. And we need to figure that out in AI. And unfortunately, we're taking poor pedagogy and using AI as a panacea. It'll solve no problem, it'll make it worse. But done right, I think AI could be transformative to learning. And from an inclusivity perspective, I think it's a great equalizer if we get it right.
Wow, okay. So that's a little bit of positivity that if we can figure out. But here we go, we are collaborating with you, so inclusivity. Now on to you, Vittorio.
I do occasionally try to be positive. I find that it sort of lightens up the mood.
I know, it's so devastating usually, or daunting. I'm not using the word devastating, but it's a little bit daunting, right? Everyone's trying to figure out. So Vittorio, coming to you more on the education in terms of the corporate side of things, how do you see it?
Let me just add on what Sanjay is saying. The next level of using Google Maps, by the way, is if you use a motorbike and you just listen to what it says. And the number of times that you need to take the ramp, and there are 50 ramps in front of you, and you don't know which one, and you cannot look at the screen, no matter where the arrow is pointing, but just figuring out what Google Maps just told you. That's the next
That's
next
absolutely
level.
right. By the way, an undesirable difficulty when you're riding a motorcycle, rain.
Undesirable at all, at all. So I was doing some, I always do some research. Similar to Sanjay, I think we need to, all of us, if we don't keep learning, especially in the space of AI, whatever we create to do in the space of 1 to 2 months, it needs to be almost completely redone. And one aspect that really fascinates me is how people, employees in companies, use the tools and solutions in general. My job, I've got a few hats that I wear. I sit on the board of Maybank, also technology and investment committees. I've got my own consulting firm. I'm a limited partner, angel investor with the startups. So I get to see a variety of different behaviors. And one interesting is, in general, the use of artificial intelligence or generative AI. In the past, when it came out, one of the first use cases was to create content. There was initial trend of creating some silly story, then there is the trend of actually replacing creatives, as we have seen in the video. Now I could run part of a marketing agency creating content through AI. But the use cases that are actually increasing and are at the top are not content creation. They're not searching for information. Number two is education, self-education. So people that use AI to solve a problem, to retrieve information that is specific to something that they're facing. It may be teaching themselves about theory of cues. It may be solving some work problem. The number one class of use cases that is emerging is people using AI to counsel and coach themselves, even psychological counsel, so that you go at the end of your day and you debrief with ChatGPT or with whichever other solution how the interaction with your colleague went, what you said, what you could have said in a different way. And I find this extremely fascinating because it's not necessarily how we would have thought AI would have entered the workplace. I would think people creating assignments and deliverables in a cheaper way. But actually there are people that take AI and get AI to do the job that normally a coach or a psychologist or your boss would do. And as well, the job that a teacher or an educator or a senior person at work would have done for you. And these two are becoming the first number one and number two classes of use cases for use of Gen AI, which I find extremely fascinating.
I'm blown away. I had no idea. Wow.
And if I may, I think it's also for the segment of women, it's taking away opportunities. Now I'm going back to finding opportunities. Actually, it is taking away repetitive autonomous businesses or jobs. But at the same time, for women, there are lots of creation in terms of, we know we have a data that a lot of SMEs or micro SMEs or businesses are owned by women in Malaysia, contributing to a huge, large economy. And we understood by teaching them a very simple, maybe AI tools by marketing, or even a little bit of cross-border elements to it, it scales by so much. So it's not that only bad things, but it is in terms of speaking from the woman founder angle. That's a little bit on the better side of things, let's call it. And AI can, those who enhance or are willing to, learn what's out there. And as you mentioned, Vittorio, I have to agree, 2 months, it's going to blow you away how much has evolved already. And then, so it's continuous learning, continuous engagement. And this is really coming into this kind of event, learning from industry peers is, I would say, increment. However, not all of us are so fascinated, and for us this morning, why we are doing STEM sector to include, because we have to create the future pipeline, we have to create not just upskilling, reskilling for the current talent, that's inevitable, but also the future pipeline, and how do we include that to the rural as well. We have to work with the PPP comes in the public-private sector. I'm jumping a lot already, but there's a lot of opportunities and potential that I want to emphasize on this point.
Actually, if I may add to that, I've long felt that large language models, AI, done right, is more of a force multiplier for small businesses than big businesses. The reason is, the problem with AI is it's fantastic, but sometimes it's wrong. And so it takes a lot of supervision. In large businesses, especially in Asian countries where the power distance is high, the supervision becomes difficult. But in a small business, right, like a single person running their own business, especially, and you said there are a lot of women who run small businesses in Malaysia, for example, you're going to keep an eye on it. But you're right, it'll automate a bunch of stuff for you. A large business can't take the risk because they're bigger targets for lawsuits, and the power distance is higher, so the supervisory control is poorer. So I've long felt that AI is done right can help small business. The problem is very expensive now, and $20 a month if you want to use ChatGPT. And in some ways, DeepSeek did everyone a great favor by re-engineering AI to make it much more democratized. So it may, again, help with inclusiveness, in my view.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And to the third segment about the AI and businesses, we can continue on about this. But it's a lot of fear. I have questions as well. Will it take away my job? Will it replace, well, a big word, but humanity? But no, we are saying no. We need your subject matter. What's your take on from the corporate side of things, Vittorio?
If I can just ask a question to the audience first, because one of the key aspects of Gen AI and in general access to technology that we still see in the market is the willingness of employers to let people use tools. I know that it may seem obvious that a Gen AI solution can help, but many organizations are still very stringent. So just with a show of hands, if your employer lets you use solutions like ChatGPT, if you can raise your hand now. If your employer does not let you use such solutions, they are simply blocked, or there is a policy that says no, raise your hand now. Okay, that's very interesting. I would say that this group is probably somewhat selected, because you are, of course, practitioners of AI. You're part of international chambers.
And also, Victoria, these are the people who could put AI to work and come to this event.
Exactly.
The rest are still in their offices.
So they are users. But if you do ask the same question to organizations out there, you would not get such a crisp answer, which I think is going to become a problem for them eventually. But going back to the original point from question from Yuki on what is going to happen to the workforce, what is going to happen to small, medium enterprise, and more broadly. So there's no discussion. Generative AI is going to replace parts of jobs. It doesn't necessarily replace jobs, but it will replace a part of the job that we do. There's no doubt about that. Depending on what you do, For the moment, if you do a lot of, say, thinking, if you sit on a board, probably there is very little that will be taken away. If I go back to my old job when I was in a marketing agency, and a lot of the work was to create visuals or videos or copies, guess what? Maybe 90% of that has already been taken away. We don't talk about people in marketing because they're not so, say, seen as critical, but many of them are losing jobs to AI. If you take jobs in software development, well, guess what? It's a lot of creating code, a lot of coming up with design, a lot of reviewing old code. Also, that one is prime to be replaced by Gen AI. It may be that there is a shortage anyway of tech people, so we would not see that happening. But depending on the job that you do, part of the job, a big part can be taken away. Now, that's not really a problem because that always happens in the economy. Jobs are just changing constantly. We don't work as sometimes maybe politicians tend to say or describe the economy as in a fixed number of jobs. It's not that we've got X number of jobs and that's it. They just keep changing. The nature of the job keeps changing. The problem that may happen, in my view and the views of the experts, is the speed. How long it takes for this replacement to happen. If it is too fast, if people are not able to retrain themselves, if people have been doing the same job for the last 2-3 years without challenging themselves, without going through the challenges that Sanjay was describing about learning, they will be at risk of not being able to upgrade themselves to the new reality. So speed and the inability to change for some organizations, some people, can be the real challenge that we're talking about.
Yeah, so elaborating on that as well, maybe we can continue, Vittorio, that this was kind of like my next question. Like, so you've touched upon a little bit of the challenges and opportunity, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that as well.
Maybe let's touch on the opportunities. There are many sectors where at the moment we cannot hire people good enough. Technology is a big one. Everybody, you ask them whether they've got enough software developers of senior level, and they will tell you no, there is not enough capacity in Malaysia. Difficult to get people. Well, maybe that's a space where one good developer plus AI will be able to do the job of 5 people. And so suddenly your shortage has disappeared in a very elegant way. And in general, there are many jobs that eventually we will not want to do anyway. I spent personally my early life as a consultant, putting together a lot of presentations, having to retrieve a lot of information from obscure knowledge exchanges. And suddenly, I can just type a couple of queries on the internal ChatGPT and get the right answers in no time. Maybe it was a job that I did not want to do anyway, and thank God now I can have a machine to do that. So not all is bad. There will be improvements in the costing structure of many businesses that is very welcome. I just wanted also to say, I sit on the board of Maybank, but don't take anything that I say tonight as related to Maybank. I'm talking generally. And to that point, different companies, different industries behave in a different way. If you are in a marketing agency, the speed of change typically tends to be quite high. If you are in a startup, it will be extremely high. If you are in a regulated industry, the speed will be slower. So the change will take more time to happen.
Maybe I'll pick up on what Vittorio said and just provide a provocative perspective, just extending what he said. I think we make a mistake that we think about robots replacing jobs. I think there's a different way to look at it. So consider, for example, Ben's restaurant downstairs, which Krutika talked about, which has 2 robots. And I used the robot example earlier. And we say those robots, and that's the math I did, might take away the waiters' jobs. There's a very different way to look at it, which is how do I redesign a restaurant around robots? And that's a fundamental reorganization of the organization, as opposed to pulling out a person and putting a robot in, because a robot or an AI system only does tasks for a job. So if you reconfigure the whole company, that's when the real change happens. In the meantime, it'll be mixed use, where the AI is helping an existing worker do something faster. But that complete rethinking is when the major disruption will come. That'll come not this year, but next year. It'll come with the agents. It'll come with autonomy. There's going to be a bit of a hype cycle because everyone's talking about agents, but these changes haven't set in. But the companies that are born AI first, as in born digital, will grow up that way. They'll be configured around these robots, as opposed to replacing humans with robots. And then you will see the massive change. That's, I think we're in the midst of that. And then to Vittoria's point, what will define individual survival, success, thriving in this industry is our agility, our ability to adapt to it and rise above the robots. But repetitive tasks, you can, and I recommend that you look for them and seek them out and see if you can replace them, I think are gone. I'll give you an example. I had to recently file my Malaysian taxes and US taxes. I have the great honor of paying taxes in both countries. And I had to figure out, I think I had 14 trips, 14, or maybe more, 16 trips. I had to figure out which day I entered which country. And I was going through it. And then I thought, why not ask ChatGPT? So I uploaded my calendar, and it came back with the result. By the way, it made two mistakes. I did catch them, but it did not substantially change the facts, right? So this is how slowly inroads will be made. But that's just me trying to replace one task. When you redesign an organization, like redesigning the restaurant around it, that's when the major change will happen. And those will be the companies born AI, the banks, the insurance companies, where the actuarial service is designed with AI, and where the company is willing to eat the mistake as opposed to try and work around it. And that's the challenge that the regulated industries, I think, are a little bit trapped in.
Yes, and in fact, I think I would have to use the word creativity as well if we are talking about the individual and personal level of things. Your subject matter and whatever your interest, whatever you are your domain sits, and how AI is driving your domain. Maybe that's something you could also, ask AI, ChatGPT, to say that I'm this and this and this. This is my interest. This is my subject matter. What can I do to ride on this AI wave? That's one at the personal level. And I hear today a lot of participants willing to learn, what can I do? Reskilling, upskilling, if there is anything from both of you to be able to add on that before we go into Slido to look at some of the questions from the floor.
Well, I think you got to be hungry. I think there's a great book by the founder of Intel, Andy Grove. Anyone know the title? Remember the title of the book? Only the Paranoid Survive. And which company forgot to be paranoid? Intel. By the way, the new CEO of Intel is Malaysian, and he's an MIT grad. Right? So only the paranoid survive. And I tell you, a little bit of paranoid is not going to be wasted today. I wake up paranoid. I'm telling you. And it's coming. You just have to be ahead of it. Get right, surf the wave, and start somewhere. There is there is a curriculum. It's the Agile Continuous Education. We created one. But you got to ride the wave. If not, the wave's catching up to you. Sorry to be a little bit dark, but it's the truth.
The audience tonight, again, you are very, very selected. You don't represent general population. You are at the top 5% most likely of use of technology, change, keeping yourself up to date. But this element of paranoia, I would say that is absent from many organizations or people. We've all been in an organization that has that person that has been doing that job for the last 3-5 years. They are excellent at that. Nobody would ever want to replace them because they're so good at doing the job that nobody else would ever be at that level. The person maybe has done some optimization in the speed that they can go about, but the essence of the job is exactly the same. Guess what? When there will be a solution that can automate the job, and eventually there will be, that person will struggle heavily to be able to repurpose, because they really made their success in being exactly the same, maybe a little bit faster for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe they were very, very well paid as well because they were critical to some business process. Now, this is maybe an extreme example, but when you look at organizations, again, maybe it's not the organizations represented in this room, but many organizations out there, many people are just comfortable in what they do, and that they don't challenge, they don't have the paranoia that things are going to go badly unless they do something. That's where personally my worry in society is, because they're the ones that then will struggle with the change introduced by AI, and they're the ones that will need then to be supported in one way or another. Many of us, many people here, they're just ready for that change.
Yes, and that's why we are talking about the inclusivity. I can't emphasize enough. We are here, I would use the word maybe elite in the room, but what about the rest who can't be in a paranoia? Paranoia is a happy problem, actually, I think. Cruz,
I just want to mention something on the inclusivity point that is not related to AI at all. In Malaysia, one of the problems that we have in terms of employment and workforce is that there is a lot of rigidity. If you want to work part-time, for example, in Malaysia, it doesn't really exist compared to other markets. If you are a male and you have a child and you want to take parental leave, it doesn't really exist. You may take a few days. If you are experiencing some psychological difficulty that you want to see a counselor, chances are you may decide to resign because you're not able to cope with your 40-hour job. And this creates rigidity that then prevents change and agility and in turn inclusivity. It's nothing to do with artificial intelligence, but I think we as senior leaders in businesses, we need to remember that if we want to help people to stay in the workforce throughout change, we need to give them tools to be flexible. For some of them, it may be part-time arrangements. For some of them would be being the primary carer as a male for the child so that the woman can stay in the workforce for some time. For some other, it can be psychological or counseling support while they stay in the workforce. There are many things that we can do outside the strict space of AI and training, but think about how we should evolve the employment approach and the employment laws in Malaysia.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think we all have, again and again, I'm talking about Global South and Global North, or many of the chambers here are ready to talk about AI, but traditionally, or countries like Malaysia, still lots of opportunity, which means challenges as well. And inclusivity really holds the key in terms of, we're still talking about some industry, you're talking about digitalization and policies, and every day we're talking about that. So I think in the era of AI, if I may, it's also that sometimes you take a step back and look at the whole governance. structure. And even for a small company to big companies, it's now you go back and then think about the whole ecosystem. And I think this is also by way of being intentionally about looking at the governance altogether, whether in a supply chain or whether it's a policy or whether it is the governance. If I may, I'm here because we didn't want it to be manual, for example. Thank you for that, Vittorio.
It would have been a terrible idea to have three men on the stage.
But this is really coming at us, and I think this is by way of me being celebrated as in level playing field in a way. Women, aged, disability, there's creativity to your point as well. It's not about, yes, of course, it's daunting. Some are losing jobs, but there are opportunities utilizing creativity and inclusivity and all of that. I think with that, we want to go into some of the Slido questions with the remaining few minutes. Would you mind taking a look at that?
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, there was one question. Sorry, go ahead.
Please, go ahead.
There was a question on DeepSeek about any MNCs that have used DeepSeek, the open sourced. Very simple. Perplexity redesigned its stack a little bit to take advantage of DeepSeek. It did it within a month of DeepSeek coming out. I think this is a question from Russell. So that's the only example I can think of.
Hey, there are a lot of questions. Do use the upvote on the questions, so we know what you prefer. I'll probably take the top voted one. What are the jobs that will be mostly affected in the next 2 years in Malaysia? My view is that any type of content, repeatable content creation job will be affected. And when I say content creation, I mean it in a very broad sense of the word. I mean it as creative creation, such as visuals, videos, or copies for marketing, code, software development. Also in the legal space, we start seeing a lot of solutions that can help drafting contracts or reviewing contracts. Consulting space, again, a creation of proposals. Engineering, now the technology is clean enough to create good documents. So anything that relates to looking at some data source and creating an output out of it, I would say that right away people should think how they're going to reposition themselves.
Yeah, good point. Yes, definitely.
Maybe I'll take on the one about human intelligence.
Sure.
What types of human intelligence? We're looking for human intelligence that can deal with the unknown and the uncertain, because anything repetitive, as Vittorio just said, is within the reach of AI. So folks who can think outside the box, we tend to put ourselves in boxes. Organizations design themselves so that the uncertainty is limited for the individual. That's called a workflow. An SOP is a term I see used a lot in Malaysia. It's the stuff that does not fit inside the SOP, that the human is needed. So encouraging any sort of intelligence that goes outside that SOP is what we want. And unfortunately, our education system in Asia particularly is very SOP-oriented. And so it's critical thinking, it's exception handling, it is dealing with unknowns. I mean, I just saw it in the restaurant today. The robot came along, and there was something in it that was hot, but the person had an injured hand. He couldn't pick it up. The robot could figure it out. The person couldn't figure it out. That's where the human waiter had to see it and say, oh, that's an exception. Let me deal with it. But if it's inside the bullseye, unfortunately, that's where we focus our education.
Shall we carry on with the questions?
Why don't you
take on one? If you have anything.
On the point of the skills required, there's if you look at the evolution of Gen AI over the last 2 years, has been extremely fast, to the point that if you ask anybody to make a prediction of what is going to happen in the next 1 year or 2 years, we can make a prediction and it will be wrong. Just as simple as that. If you want, I can sell you a prediction, but it would be wrong. Sanjay would do the same. All the big consulting firms systematically say something that 90% does not happen. This is an element, however, of the complexity that we are facing, that we will need to be able to figure out how the technology evolves. And now with the advent of agentic AI, things that operate out of their own will without us knowing exactly why they do it or how they are self-organized, we will need to figure out how we manage that automatism in the AI space. It was difficult enough in the old world of software development to do proper configuration management, let alone in the future when you've got a set of agents that you've set up, but then you forgot how they were created, how they are operating, and maybe they start taking a kind of life of their own. This will be a change for us to figure out how we are going to actually manage what we are creating, because we simply don't know exactly. So a high degree of flexibility will be required.
Yeah, we'll still need a lot of, with all of these, we can go on and on, but I think we're going to go into a network, and you can definitely ask all sorts of questions to our subject matter experts here. I think for me, just to close up, is humanity. We have to check, as you both said, the work of the AI, also the narrative of the words. I always, well, of course, we all have to admit we do LinkedIn posts asking ChatGPT or Perplexity or anything to do for us, but you have to double check. Sometimes the narrative is so completely different and all of that. So definitely human is definitely needed. Anything else for the both of you to add? Otherwise, we'll give you a clap.
Well, I just want to say one thing, because I do want to end on a brighter note, which is one of my books. I was interviewing someone who tracks National Football League, football players. You know how America's branded a sport in which the foot is barely used as football and forced everyone else to say soccer. That's what we Americans do. But anyway, National Football League, the coach, they use a technology that actually I was involved in for tracking players. And I asked the lady who sold that technology, I said, how long, now that you have data of how the players are doing, before the coach can be replaced with AI? And there was a question about that here. And what do you think the answer was? From this lady who sells the technology. What do you think? Yes, no, never. She said never. And I was stunned. I said, what do you mean never? I mean, you're a technologist, you're selling technology, I'm a technologist. She goes, the coaches can make players do things that are statistically impossible. No sensible AI would bet on it. So, we still have a role, thank God.
That's a very good point.
That's a great way of finishing, I think, and then we'll continue talking at our network. Or
yes, I've got a little bit more to do some closing, but this
okay,
was
sure, of course.
exceptional. Thank you, panelists and moderator Sanjay, Vittorio, and Yuki. We have a little something which includes.
I don't get a gift?
No, you don't get a gift.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Includes the book that you mentioned.
Yuki, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
just said it to you
Wanna take a
outside that I wanted
photograph?
to read your book, so thank you.
Anson,
Thank
you
you very
want
much.
Anson, you want to click a photo? Photo
Yeah,
opportunities
let
are
me take a
important for
picture.
us.
So I have this privilege to be in the middle. Not happening too often, so.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you very much all.
Thank you all. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. it was exceptional for me because every time I attend any kind of such event, it's interesting. You just learn more and more new things. Like I think I have 3 key takeaways just from this session. Although I work with Sanjay and we get to hear different perspectives every other day, but today I learned that, change is definitely coming, but change is going to take time, so you can actually work something out within that. I'm sure each of you had interesting takeaways. One of the slides that I shared earlier had put that, there are many questions, board members, leadership level especially, they have these questions in their head. But I also added there that it begs to be implored. You really need to contextualize it to your own company and understand the relevance of these questions, because it would mean different things to different companies. Like what Sanjay was mentioning, you've got digital ready or digital native companies, they would get a head start, whereas companies like, especially like, those that have been established in the 80s and whatnot, it might take a whole movement to get ahead. So I do want to say that look to us, that's not US, by the way, us as an ASB. We've got a little joke, inside joke going around. We've got lots of different things that you can do with Asia School of Business. You just need to use your imagination, really. We are a business school, of course. We run programs, we have MBA programs, exec ed, and things like that. Do look to us if you want to educate yourself or your staff. But other than that, we run these kind of events where you have networking opportunities, you have the benefit of bringing together your own communities. Like, if I may mention, on 9th May, the EU delegation is actually, they've approached us to host their EU Members' Day here. It's just very coincidental. It had nothing to do with this particular event, but it sits nicely, and I understand that some of you have been invited to that event as well. So there's a lot of forum which has a lot of meaning for all of you to come in together. And then we have research and advisory, very cutting edge, very niche, I would say, ranging from strategy to technology to palm oil to ASEAN and so on. And then we have strategic collaborations, which we can actually talk to each of you depending on what you would like to do, or as I said, using your imagination. Do look to us to hire students. We've got an amazing pool of talent. We've got alumni as well who do seek jobs sometimes, but most of our students are graduates who are employment ready. You can look to us for that. And of course, we've got projects which are action learning team. I think I saw some of my colleagues here. They host projects in companies. If your company here in Malaysia or in the region is interested to engage with our students, just like consultants, of course, they come in at MBA level, but they also come with access to our faculty who tend to be from ASB as well as MIT. So you get, in some way, free consultation to an extent to solve really good problems, solvable problems. And thought leadership, just like what you heard today. So a lot going on at ASB. Do keep connected and stay in touch. We also have an innovation and entrepreneurship center, which is an universe on its own. We've got startups and accelerators and hubs which are plugged in. So as I mentioned earlier, do stay connected. And I do want to emphasize one thing, in fact, in the previous slide, the cutting edge programs that I mentioned. We have, as a business school, we run MBA, full-time MBA programs, executive MBA programs. But what Sanjay has done, which I mentioned earlier, is bringing the MIT MicroMaster idea here, and he has actually modularized, or rather democratized MBA, modularized each of the courses to be available as mini micro-credentials. So you can now pursue an MBA degree at your own pace to an extent, take these courses module by module, course by course, stack up micro-credentials. Just do 7 of them, you get a MicroMasters. And then if you really want to pursue the entire pathway, you can also use it to apply to an MBA program. So that is called Agile Continuous Education. It's proven to be really successful. And in fact, one of the courses actually on AI, which was one of the best selling. So I wanted to just play a video.
What humans find easy, machines find hard.
A snippet of how
What
it is.
humans find hard, machines find easy. A lot of automation affected blue-collar jobs. Here, automation will start with low-hanging fruit like customer service, but then affect more white-collar jobs.
I think that means education is now the new oxygen economy, and we need to learn that AI is not only ChatGPT, but it can go beyond that. We can customize the GPT according to our own business needs. We can do multimodal, we can do video, we can do images, and so much more.
One of the big misconceptions is students don't realize that AI is just a soulless computer program. It has no sense of personhood, has no sense of identity, it has no emotions, it has no sentience.
Which is really interesting, isn't it? Because it can display very empathetic behavior and yet without emotion. We realize that AI operates on implicit rules rather than requiring us to program explicit rules. So for example, when we want to recognize between a cat and a dog, all we need to give the AI system is many examples of cats and dogs, and not the exact rules as to how to program a cat versus program a dog.
Yeah, very hard to describe cats and dogs so specifically that computer can recognize, but examples, easy. Well, I would really like to see students feel less like victims and more like owners of this technology so they can play offense.
Indeed, we want to empower our students to use AI not only as tools, but to be innovative within their own organizations.
Thanks for watching that. So the next course for this one is in November, next run. Anyways, there's a lot more that we can share. Reach out to us. My team is here. That's Prema, Jaime, and Zai. I'm not sure where she is. A small team. And I do want to give a chance for Javier to also say a few words. He has been the reason for all of us gathering today. Please come up, and then we can break for...
Thank you, Krutika. Thank you, Vittorio. Thank you, Sanjay, for believing in making this possible. Thank you, Yuki. And I want to share with you all why I had this idea. When I created my company like 25 years ago, I was an engineer, and I didn't know how to manage a company. I didn't know how to lead people. But I had access to executive education. I couldn't pay for the executive education, and I didn't have time either. But I had access to all these podcasts that are available, and I listened to all of them during my commute time. And then when I saw eventually we became very successful. But then when you have a company and you are doing all these projects, sometimes you are extremely, you lose the contact with what is happening around the world. But having access to leaders, professors that are doing research and that are willing to share that research for free. Or if you can and you have time, you can attend the MBA or the executive MBA of any of the executive programs that they have. So I use that information to adjust our company, and we were very successful with that. So that's why when I saw the opportunity to have Sanjay and Vittorio having this conversation, I proposed to them, and I'm happy that this happened. Thank you very much for the 250 guests that signed up for the event. And please, round of applause for our speakers. And thank you very much. The 16 chambers and European organizations that joined tonight to make this possible. And thank you very much to all of you. Now we can enjoy the food and the networking. We would like to take just a big picture of the audience, and then we can move to the catering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier. I noticed that many of the audience, unfortunately, because of traffic jam, you did arrive late. Not to fret, we have recorded the session, so if we have everyone's consent, and then we can release the recording only to the participants of this event. Yeah, and as Javier beautifully put, we shall thank everyone. And if I wanted to acknowledge, we have European Chambers and Commerce Business Councils from Spain, UK, Belgium, Italy, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Poland, Netherlands, Denmark, EU, La French Tech, and France. That's a lot of different countries. Thank you for coming together. How are we going to do this photo? So do we want to do a selfie or from here? Okay. Yeah. We've got refreshments. We have pasta, by the way. The video showed pasta. We have pasta arranged for you. So, do you all mind standing up? Move to the middle, please. Yeah. Oh, suddenly it seems like a larger crowd. Yeah. Further in, further in. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you outside for networking. Thanks for coming.